Standard Amazon product descriptions are just so dull and they really don't capture customers' attention or sell a product. So as a seller, it's really important that you use something called A+ content on your product listings to increase your conversion rate and increase your sales. So in this video, I'm going to show you what A+ content is, how you can create well-optimized A+ content, and then finally how you can add that A+ content onto your product listing. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so firstly, let's talk about what A+ content is and why you should definitely be using it, and then we can move on to how to create it and how to add it onto your listing. So when you are first creating your product listing and you're in the back-end product listing editor and you come over to this description tab, if you enter a product description in this box here and you don't use any HTML code, what you'll end up with is just a solid block of unformatted text as your product description. What you can do to try and format that product description a little bit is add some basic HTML code. You'll end up with a product description that looks something like this. So using that HTML code, you can create some basic formatting like adding bullet points, bold text, paragraphs, and things like that. But even with that formatting, these product descriptions just still look really dull and boring. There's no images, they're just blocks of text. And as a result, very few customers actually scroll down and look at these product descriptions, and they have very little impact on your product listings conversion rate. So instead, what you can do is you can use A+ content to create a highly formatted product description with text and images. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is a good example of a seller that's used A+ content. So as you can see, the product description has been replaced with this highly customized product description that includes both images and blocks of text and just looks so much better. And what's cool about this A+ content product description is the images that you can use in here don't have to be the same as the main 7 to 9 listing images that you use at the top of your listing. So by adding A+ content to your product listing, you're essentially tripling the amount of images you can actually have on your product listing. And why this is so huge is that product images by far contribute the most to a customer's purchasing decision. So by having more product images on your listing, you're going to be able to convey more information about your product to the customer, and they're more likely to buy your product. So just by switching from having a standard description to a highly formatted A+ content description, you're going to massively increase your conversion rate. So it's definitely something you should do if you are not already doing it. The other cool thing that you can do with A+ content is cross-promote products. So normally if a customer clicks onto a product listing and, for instance, they look at the design of this product and they think, okay, you know what, I don't really like that design, they'll often come and have a look at this sponsored product section to see what other designs are available of the same product. And what this tends to mean is that customers will then click onto one of your competitors' listings and buy from them. But what you can do with A+ content is create a section called a product comparison chart, where you can promote all the other products that you sell, all the different other models of the same product that you sell. And this means customers are much more likely to look at the different models you sell, click onto one of those and buy from you instead of looking at one of your competitors' products and buying from them. So if you're not using A+ content at the moment on your product descriptions, you really need to be, and I guarantee by just making that switch, you're going to massively increase your conversion rate. So what I'm going to do for the rest of the video is I'm going to show you how to create a well-optimized A+ content section and then how to add that onto your product listings. Okay, so firstly, what you want to do is log into Seller Central, then come over to the advertising tab and then select A+ Content Manager, and it will take you to a page that looks like this. Once you're on this page, you just want to click Start Creating A+ Content. Now, just one thing to point out, like so many of these new tools in Seller Central, you need to be enrolled in Amazon's brand registry to be able to create A+ content. So if you haven't already done that, I'd highly recommend watching the video that I put out last week all about how to enroll in Amazon brand registry. I'll put a little link up here somewhere and then also down in the description below. You'll then be given two options because there's two different types of A+ content. The first is basic and then the second is brand story. So let me quickly show you what the difference is between these two. When you add basic A+ content to your product listing, the heading will always say product description, and this would be something that you create individually for each one of your product listings. when you create brand story A+ content, it will instead have the title from the manufacturer or from the brand. And this is where you would have a little story or a little introduction into your brand. And this would be something that you use the same one across all of your product listings. So you don't want to use both of these at the same time on a product listing. Instead, you just want to pick one. So I would forget about brand story and just focus on creating a basic A+ content to add to your product listings, because you can have a little section all about your brand in the basic A+ content. And I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. Once you get to this page, what you firstly want to do is give this content a name. So I'm just going to call this Test A+. And then once you've given it a name, what you want to do is add a module. So the way that A+ content works is it's basically created in sections, which Amazon calls modules. So what you can do is firstly just hit add module. And what you'll see is you're shown all the different section templates that you can use. So really the options you have is a standard comparison chart. So what this is a comparison of your different products. So for example, if you have a variation listing or you have a range of different products that are all within the same niche, you might want to use a standard comparison chart. You then have 4 images with 4 pieces of text below them. And then there are a bunch of different options that you can see here. So essentially what you want to do is just go through and select your first section that you want to have at the top of your A+ content. So let's say we want to start off with a company logo. You could add that. Once you have that section in, then you can then click on it to add an image to that section. Okay, so I'm not actually going to go ahead and do that, but what you can see here is that in this box where there's a camera, it says 600 by 180. What this is the recommended minimum pixels for this section, for this module. And because this is the minimum pixel size, what I would recommend is using this as a ratio guideline and then doubling these numbers to make sure that the quality of the images are really high. So if it recommends 600 pixels by 180, you would actually want to upload an image that's 1200 pixels by 360 pixels. That way you're maintaining the same shape of the image, the same ratio, but you're doubling the picture quality to make sure that the image quality is really high on your product listing. So it's really important to point out that you can't just add in an unlimited number of modules. You can add a maximum of 7 modules. So you really need to think about what kind of content you want to include in this A+ content and then plan it out across the modules to make sure that you can fit everything in across the 7 modules. Now, obviously, you don't have to use 7 modules. You can only use 1 if you choose to. And it's just unlimited in terms of the number of different options you have in the way that you want to lay this out. So like I said, when it comes to creating this A+ content, you can really use whichever structure you like. You can get really creative. However, I thought it'd be helpful just to share the structure that I use on my product listings. So if you're not sure which direction to go, you can just use this recommended structure. So at the very top of my A+ content, I always like to start off with information about my brand. So I start off with a brand logo, and then just under that, I have a little bit of text talking about the brand. So at the top of the A+ content, I like to always have a section with information about the brand. Then in the middle of the A+ content, I like to have information about the product itself. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to use 3 images and text or a 4 image and text module. So you can add 3 to 4 different images of your product with a small bit of text underneath each one of the images. And this is a great way to show the customer the key features of your product, the key features and benefits of your product. Then at the bottom of the A+ content, I like to have a standard comparison chart. This is where you can show customers the different products you sell in your product range to cross-promote them on each of your product listings. Once you've added in your different modules, what you can actually do if you want to change the order of a module is you can just use these up and down buttons, so you don't have to delete and re-add them. If you decide that you want this module 1 higher, then all you have to do is click the up button and it will just switch the position. So it's just lifted it above this module here. You can also delete modules easily just by pressing the X button and then just clicking yes. So once you have these modules added and then you actually want to start adding images and text, you don't actually have to fill out all of these sections. So for example, with this module here, you have 4 images, a headline text for each image, and then a text body for each image. If you just want to have 4 images with no text, then just add 4 images and don't add any text. You'll still be able to save it. If you want 4 images with a headline, then you can add a headline. Just understand that you don't have to fill out all of these sections if you don't want to. They just won't show up. It's really important to try and include as many of your keywords as possible in your product listing copy, so your title, bullets, and description. Unfortunately, with A+ content, the text that you add into the A+ content that is visible to customers, Amazon won't actually index you for that text, and hence you won't be able to organically rank for that text. So if you're creating A+ content, you want to make sure that you include as many of your keywords as possible in your title and bullet points. And then there's one other place that you want to add those keywords, and that is in the image keywords in your A+ content. So even though the text that you add here and here won't get indexed, when you actually go to add images to your A+ content, you'll see a little section here that says image keywords. The keywords that you enter into these image keywords here will get indexed and you will be able to organically rank for on Amazon, okay? So any keywords that you haven't managed to input into your product listing in all of the other sections, you can add in as these image keywords here. Now, once you've created your A+ content and you're happy with the way it looks, what you want to do is just hit Next Apply ASINs up in the top right-hand corner here. So now that you've created this A+ content, you can actually go ahead and assign it to specific ASINs to make it show up on those ASINs product listing. Now you can add it to a single ASIN or you can add it to multiple ASINs. So if you have product variations, then you may want to create one A+ content which you have across all of your different product variations. Or alternatively, you can create a single A+ content for every single variation, obviously depending on what type of product you have and what the variation relationship is like, and whether it's appropriate to have A+ content shared across those variations. So what you want to do is you just want to find the ASIN, copy that ASIN that you want the A+ content to be applied to, paste it into this search bar here. It should then find your ASIN, which you can then just click on, and then it will show up in this applied ASINs box just down here. Once you've done that, what you want to do is come up to the top right-hand corner and hit Review and Submit. Once you click Review and Submit, you'll be taken to a page where you'll see a preview of what your A+ content is going to look like on both mobile and desktop. So have a good look at that, make sure that it all looks formatted properly and you're happy with the way that it looks. If it doesn't, you can always go back and make some edits. If you're then happy with that, at the bottom of the page you can click Submit. Once you click Submit, it will then send off your A+ content to Amazon to go through the review process. About 7 days later, it will either be approved or disapproved. If it's approved, it will then go live on your product listing. If it's disapproved for any reason, you can then just go back into your A+ content, make some recommended changes, and then resubmit the application. Okay guys, so it really is as simple as that. You can get this done in 15 minutes and it's going to increase your conversion rate and help stop your competitors stealing your products by allowing you to cross-promote different products in the same product range on each of your product listings. So I hope you found the video useful. If you did, don't forget to give the video a like and I'll see you in the next one.